Hey everybody, what's going on? I recently tuned into Robert Kiyosaki's webinar. His latest one is called 2014 Predictions: The Good, the Bad, and the Opportunities. I watched it. It was about an hour long, maybe a little longer. He did not really specify exactly what's going to happen next year, but he had an overall scope of what's to come, and it's very, very gloomy in his eyes. He started out the seminar saying, for those of you who are looking for good news, tune out now. I mean, he just really didn't have anything good to say, overall with what's going to happen in the next several years. The people who were in this seminar or webinar were Ken McElroy, one of his Rich Dad team advisors. He's into the real estate. And Andy Tanner, who's a paper asset, stock market trader guy. His wife Kim Kiyosaki, Tom Wheelwright, who's a tax specialist, and there's one woman who does like marketing consulting, and she's new to the team, and she explains what happened with her financial advisor, how this person was trying to advise her about mutual funds and everything, and they didn't really know what talking about. They just don't know, and they laugh at this, but it's not funny. It's just you got your 401k and your investments and these mutual funds and bonds and what have you, and they're really not guaranteed to stay afloat like how things are going right now. So what they were discussing about was one of the books they're reading, and it's by Chris Martenson. He wrote a book called The Crash Course, and they talk about exponential growth, exponential this, and the environment, oil or peak oil, and a bunch of other things. And a lot of them who read it were spooked about what's to come based on what he wrote, Chris Martenson wrote, and it's just a lot of bad news. So um, the key word that they were talking about in the book was that things are just going to be unsustainable. It just can't keep going forever. So there's going to be major changes coming in the next few years, several years. It all depends, right? And so how can we prepare for all this? And Andy Tanner said something really cool, which was you predict the future by studying policy, like government policy, monetary policy, and then the other thing you uh, look into is demographics. So how many people or the population of a certain generation, what do they need? And the two biggest, well, one of the biggest policies right now is Obamacare, and the amount of baby boomers who are retiring or getting old. So these retirees or older people are going to line up for those entitlements and are going to be forced to sell their 401k or IRA or whatever investments they have in those retirement accounts at the age of 70 and a half. They just have to sell it. So they see this trigger to sell, and it's going to, rattle the markets from what they think, what Andy and, Robert's thinking about. They project all these things. Now, Robert has his projection based on all his research, and he wrote the book Rich Dad Prophecy, and that book predicted sometime in 2016 we're going to have this major crash, and it's going to be a massive one. And he fears there are too many people really dependent on the market, stock market, assets, the paper assets, and they're going to get wiped out. He really thinks that those who count on the stock market are going to get slaughtered. and that's not a good sign because most people, middle class, even the rich people, they're all invested in these funds. I know a lot of you out there have 401ks and IRAs, and especially the 401k, it's very hard to control. Like, how many of you out there are capable of, you know, selling your fund and turning it into cash, or selling your fund and putting it into something more conservative, or, like a CD or something so that it doesn't fall in value? Now, Robert's prepping to the point where he moved to South Carolina in the mountains, and he's thinking about how to build real estate where you can protect your property. He's got people. I think he hired people to protect, like security. He's got guns. He's got ammo. He's got, energy, like some type of gas, emergency food, and he's expecting the worst in humanity, which is pretty sad. But he's being realistic. I hope I hope it doesn't really turn out that way. But to hear him say those things, I mean, he even said that the worst case scenario would be cannibalism, but I highly doubt that will happen. I mean, if food is gonna be hard to get around, I think the government will have to rotate all kinds of MREs and other emergency food and try and get things back in order. So to sum up his final warning was that he gave out these numbers here. Let me push this over. Um, he said these amounts: the U.S. debt is 17 trillion, Social Security is 19 trillion, Medicare is 175 trillion, and the derivative market is 1.2 quadrillion. And time is ticking, and these payments are coming due in the next several years. So, 17 trillion, 19 trillion, I don't know, maybe there's some trillion reserve somewhere in another, financial institution like the IMF or something. But when you're thinking 175 trillion, but the worst with the derivatives at 1.2 quadrillion, I don't see how that could be paid off. It just, there's going to be some kind of debt forgiveness here. That's what I see. All right, this is all the stuff that I took notes on and wanted to share with you guys, and thought it might help. All right, thanks for watching.